criminal charges for misclassifying employees as contractors? That'll catch your attention. Today, we're talking labor and employment law. Expert Connections starts now. Welcome to Expert Connections. I'm Julie Holton. Let's get right to it. Tony Dalimonte is an attorney at Foster Swift, joining us for today's Legal Connections. Hi, Tony. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Julie.
There are a lot of developments to cover, things Michigan businesses need to start planning for now as we look ahead to 2023. You'll be a part of a big labor and employment seminar next week. Today, I want to touch on the highlights so folks know what to expect. So, first of all, what are some of these major legal updates for employers?
Yeah, there's lots of new developments in the area of employment law, such as the current status of FLSA. There's some big new minimum wage and paid sick leave developments, retention policies, compliance and regulation issues, workers' compensation, diversity, equity, inclusion. You know, there's a lot going on right now.
One of the topics you mentioned, minimum wage, has a lot of recent developments and could really affect employers. Can you tell us a little bit about what we need to be concerned about?
Yeah, so in July of this year, just a couple months ago, the Court of Claims held that action by the Michigan legislature in enacting the Improved Workforce Opportunity Wage Act and the Paid Medical Leave Act, which are the statutes that govern our current minimum wage and paid sick leave laws, those statutes are now void. And so there's going to be some significant changes to our minimum wage and paid sick leave laws. And what's going to happen is that our minimum wage and sick leave laws are now going to be governed by statutes that were put on the Michigan ballot back in 2018.
Okay, so when are these changes going to happen?
The Court of Appeals recently issued a stay until February 20th, 2023. So just a couple months away. The current laws are going to be in effect until that time. But once February 20th hits, employers are going to be required to immediately comply with the 2018 ballot initiatives. So employers are really going to have to get prepared because that's not that far away.
Yeah, it really isn't. I mean, February is right around the corner. So can you take us into the weeds a little bit here? What are the big changes that employers are going to need to comply with?
So there's really two buckets of substantial changes that employers are going to be required to comply with. The first is changes in minimum wage. And the big one is that the standard minimum wage is going to increase from its current rate of $9.87 per hour to at least $12 an hour. And the reason I say at least is that there's an inflation-based provision in the initiative that could increase the minimum wage beyond $12 an hour. And the other bucket is paid sick leave. So the current Paid Medical Leave Act is no more, and the ballot initiative, the Earned Sick Time Act, will be in effect once the stay is lifted. And the reason this is a big deal is that the Earned Sick Time Act significantly expands who is required to provide paid sick leave. Now all employers with at least one employee will be required to provide at least 40 hours of paid sick leave. And that's a big change because under the current law, only employers with 50 or more employees are going to have to or do have to provide sick leave. So now if you've got one employee, you're going to have to provide some paid sick leave, and that's an administrative change that employers are going to need to be prepared to deal with.
That's a major change for small businesses. Are there any other substantial changes, Tony?
Yeah, under the ballot initiative, the minimum wage for tipped employees increases to 80% of the minimum wage. And it was set to increase to 80% of the minimum wage in 2022. 90% in 2023 and 100% in 2024, which means that when the stay is lifted in February, tipped employees must be paid an hourly rate of at least $9.60 per hour. And I mean, this is a huge change. It's likely going to have substantial economic effects, and employers are going to need to be ready to be paying tipped employees at least 80% of the minimum wage, and in 2 years' time, they must be paid at least the full minimum wage.
This is a major, I mean, you weren't kidding about these being major changes, especially, here we are still, I think it's safe to say in recovery mode from the pandemic. Hopefully this is not fresh, brand new information for employers, but obviously February, some of these changes right around the corner. How can employers start getting ready now?
Well, from a financial perspective, employers are going to need to, review their books and be prepared to comply with the potential additional financial requirements. And then, they're going to need to comply with the administrative requirements. So just a quick note on the paid sick leave. The 2018 statute has additional requirements that employers are going to need to comply with, such as employers are no longer allowed to request documentation proving that sick leave is needed. There's additional protections for employees. So employers are going to need to be careful. We're on a pretty tight timeline here. Like I said, February is not that far away. So employers are going to need to start getting ready.
At the top of the segment, we mentioned that you are going to be part of a big seminar next week, a free seminar that Foster Swift is hosting, diving deeper into all of these developments. Can you tell us a little bit more? So this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. There are a lot of legal developments. What can we expect at this seminar?
Yeah, so our labor and employment practice group here at Foster Swift is putting on our fall update. It's a virtual seminar on October 12th. It's going to run from 9 a.m. to about 11:30. If anyone wants to sign up, there's a link on our labor and employment page on Foster Swift's website. I think it's going to be a great seminar. We've got some really experienced attorneys here, talking about all those topics that I led this interview with, and we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's really a must attend for employers, especially if any of these changes are going to impact you. Tony, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Julie.
To attend the seminar next week, you're going to want to sign up now. We have a link posted for you on our website, expertconnections.tv. You can also head directly to fosterswift.com. Check out the labor and employment group to learn more from the attorneys at Foster Swift. And be sure to click over and watch the videos in our Legal Connections segment.